miser's life we are living. Why should it be cheaper to die than to live, when the compensation's pennies and the workers they are many? And who gives a damn for the likes of me and you? You come to your work and you go about your business. You walk over planks as you have done for years. But when there's a weak one, you're thrown into boiling steam. No one could have helped you even if they had seen. He's done it so many times, the excuse it is given. But does that make it right to lose one man's life when the molten iron splashes and the workers they are burned? What excuses cover scars and limbs that are gone? As the molten river bursts its banks and the steel men are stranded, and the sparks burn their skin and the smoke sears their throats, what can you say to widows and children of victims? You can't replace a father with a handful of notes. There's 14 men working on the side of a furnace, and the gas creeps upon them like some deadly weed, when the only thing to save them has to be brought from London. Can saving only 10 men justify all their greed? Here the accidents are many, no matter how large or small. When one man has gone, there's 10 more to take his place. Now Corby has its mortuary, and the works they help to fill it. How many years must pass until somebody cares? The unions are trying, the works is getting safer, and mostly we only lose limbs instead of lives. But what about the ghost shift that will never leave here? Will it wander the site long after we are gone?
That's Archie, my man. We'd have been buried 25 years tomorrow. We came down to Corby for Glasgow when they shut the works down up there. Said they needed people for the jobs. Why they couldn't have just built another works in Scotland's a mystery to me, but no, move all the people down to another country. Thousands of us. The men first and then the women and the wains. What a bloody upheaval. Living without your man, bringing up your wains on your own, while he's down here living in a camp with the rest of the men. Nothing today but drink and fight, without us women to keep them in order. Know that he didn't deserve a wee dram after a hard day's graft in that hellhole. The stories my Archie used to tell me, the heat, the thirst, the noise, and the accidents. Well, that's how I lost my Archie. He was one of the men that fell into the molten steel when the planks gave way. Health and safety. But did they have safety precautions in their days? Men were ten a penny. They didn't care. Oh, got a nice letter for Stuart's and Lloyd after he died. But that and the wee drap compensation could never replace a feather or give me back my man. Oh aye, the works was good to him in many ways. Steady job with the future. Best paid work round here. He had the best bunch of pals a man could ask for. They were all there for me in the wains after he died. But the whole team's like that. We're just like one big clan. I mean, no matter where you came from, you left a lot behind. Your friends, family, familiar way of life, your own house, even your language. There are enough Scots down here to make me forget it's England sometimes, but you know, up the road, no one ever asks me to slow down because they can't understand what I'm saying. Why don't I go back? There's no future, no jobs for the wains. At least here they'll have work. My rabs in the tubes, and when Alec, my second eldest, leaves school, he'll be straight down there. He'll be getting a boy's wage to begin with. It won't be till he's 18 that he gets a man's wage. But at least it's another wage packet coming in. My Fiona will be next. She'll have a choice and all, not just the cleaning of the offices. They're taking women on the shop floor now. Mind you, the way she's gone on with that Jamie, she'll be set a family before a job. Just think, me, a granny. I'm not ready for that. We used to talk together about how getting on together, me and Archie. And now we'll never see his grandwains. And they'll, sadly, they never have a grander. Still, life will be different for them. A lot better to yours. She better not be expecting me to look after the ways. I've my own life to live now. Things today. And here I am blethering on. Nice talking to you.
I love that picture of my dad. I was 9 when the plants gave way. It's a night I'll never forget. I remember vividly the loud knock on the door. I heard my mum going to open it. Then the sound of deep voices, a high sound of someone screaming, and then more intense voices. I was frightened. I hoped she was all right. But I thought I should stay where I was, so I snuggled under the blankets and waited. A while later, I heard her heavy, weary tread on the stairs. She stood outside the bedroom door for what seemed like ages. And then she slowly pushed it open, as if she wasn't sure whether to wake us or not. Seconds passed. She stayed there, sobbing quietly, before flicking on the light switch. I was out of my bed in an instant. I hurried over to her and hugged her around her waist, whilst my sister struggled to wake up. "What's wrong, Mum?" I said, really worried now. "It's your dad," she said. Dad had gone off on the 2 to 10 in the blast furnace. I'd been lying there waiting for the familiar, reassuring sound of him coming in from work before nodding off to sleep. He won't be coming home. My heart was pounding. What do you mean? Dad was my oak tree, strong, dependable, our shelter. Where had he gone? My sister, awake now, had climbed down from the top bunk, and she was standing on the other side of my mum. What a picture. 2 little girls trying to comfort their mother. Her sobs just grew steadily louder. That's when we started to parent the parent. There's been an accident at the works, she stammered. Is he all right? Is he hurt? Is he in hospital? We asked. We knew the works was a dangerous place. There was accidents there all the time. Some of my friends' dads worked in the tube works and they had fingers missing. But some of them had even been killed. But that happened to other families? Surely. Mum was quite hysterical now, weeping and wailing and calming herself down with breathing. I'd never heard anything like it. I knew from that sound that our lives would never be the same again. I could hear in the raw pain that we were now one of the fatherless families. The oak tree had been felled. I was going to have to learn to stand on my own 2 feet. All that, no one had even said a word. My sister's face was ashen white. She shook Mum's hands. Tell us, Mum, what happened?
The planks give way.
I was 9 when Fiona's dad died at the works. I was in a class at school. We had a special mass, an assembly, and the head teachers told us. But I already knew. My dad had seen it in the ET. I remember him telling us over dinner one night, and my eldest brother was telling us all the gruesome details. My dad shot him up. Not in front of the young ones. Look. I remember him saying the men had to push him in. My dad trying to protect us from the gruesome details. But us kids knew. We heard the stories. We were teenagers and toddlers all growing up together in a big family. We always lived with the threat of my dad dying early too. He had a weak heart. So I felt like I knew what Fiona might be going through, because I never took it for granted that my dad would come home every day.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be because
The planks give way.
I was a young trade unionist at the time, and I went with a couple of the other stewards to break the sad news about Archie. God, I never want to have to do that again. Do you know, I still can't get the sound, the screams of that woman out of my head. That sort of raw, it just ripped right through you. To be honest, I just stood there, I felt like a bit of an idiot. I didn't know what to say, I didn't know what to do. I was still young, inexperienced. But the lads knew, they knew what they were doing. They knew what to say, what to do. They'd done it before too many times. Sorry, Ada. Archie won't be coming home. There's been this terrible accident. He fell into the molten steel. And the planks gave way. I'm afraid he died instantly. But unfortunately, there's no remains. For fuck's sake. How the hell do you try to sort of work that out in your own head? The horror of it. Nothing to bury. No chance to say goodbye. Just gone. Nothing. I didn't witness the accident myself, but I went up there straight away. Geordie and Pete, God, they were in a terrible mess. They were the lads that pushed Archie under when the planks gave way. Geordie, he was worse. He was just sitting there, he was crying. Did I do the right thing? Did I do the right thing? But there's nothing they could do. Nobody could have saved Archie. I remember thinking at the time, why on earth Do men have to cross hot molten steel on wooden planks? For Christ's sake, it's all wrong. It needs to stop. And I decided there that I would do everything I could to make sure it does stop.
I was involved in trying to make the works a safer place in the 70s. It wasn't easy. I'd seen dangerous work at my first job, quarter of a mile underground in a Nottinghamshire colliery in the 50s. I remember one memorable day. I was standing in one of the roadways and I was hauled to one side by my supervising foreman, who told me to get out of the way. There was an almighty boom from the tunnel where they were driving a shaft from one seam of coal to another. Half a dozen Irishmen armed with spades rushed past us, hurtled their way into this tunnel amidst a cloud of dust, hot air and Lord knows what, to dig the next few yards. For this they were paid the pricely sum of £5. A phenomenal amount of money for its time. This was danger money. Back then, if a job was dangerous, you paid people to risk their lives. There were no dedicated health and safety officers. Factory inspections did take place, but only after an accident. By 1970, I was in the work study department at British Steel, and the bosses were keen to bring in an incentive scheme to get more widgets out of the door. You either got more widgets for the same money, or a lot fewer widgets for a lot less money, or the same number of widgets much cheaper. Doing that in the iron and steel works, particularly the iron end of it, was going to be difficult. For a start, we were talking tonnage, not widgets. And at the iron and steel works, people had been very much into custom and practice. They worked out their own ways to do things, and that wasn't necessarily safe. The notion of safe working practices was part of Lord Roburn's new health and safety recommendations, but it was all very new. I was assigned to the strip mills to study work patterns and establish some standard times, keeping safety and profit in mind. The idea was to recruit 3 or 4 men off the line and use their practical experience to find out how it was done and why it was done like that. The union men didn't like this at all, and we sat for weeks on end whilst management tried to negotiate a way in. Eventually, they gave up and sent me to the locomotives instead. That was an education, to say the least. I had a team of 3 loco drivers, wonderful guys. I felt it would be a good idea if I had a trip on the locomotives to experience conditions for myself. So I rode along on a locomotive taking molten slag from the blast furnaces to the slag bank over Geddington Way. I returned a shaken and frightened man. One of the team, Pat, said, "You look a bit shaken up." I said, "Yeah, it scared the living daylights out of me." "Ah," he said, "you must have been with Crazy Horse. If we had 20 men like him, we'd only need the 10 of them." "Yeah," I said, "I can see that. But as far as incentive schemes go, that's not the best thing to say." A lot of the men had their own ways of doing things. One of the critical things about loco driving was A, the speed of travel, and B, how you actually uncouple, recouple and put the brakes on the wagons. Ideally, people should go round the end of the train, come back the other side, but no. Most people just ducked under beneath the wagons and risked getting walloped by something coming at them. Anyway, we established speeds and ways to safely couple and uncouple the wagons to allow for safe working practices. But people would still resort to the old methods that we used to, which were much quicker, and there was no one there to check. I gave up eventually. It was an impossible task. Over to you.
Work study, my arse. There was no way they were coming into the strip mills. These people were management lackeys. Same old management bullshit. More for less. More for less. And we knew what that meant. It meant jobs. It meant risking people's lives. And we weren't prepared to have that. But the unions, they stood strong. There was no way they were coming in here without an agreement. And if necessary, we would take industrial action. We knew what we were doing. It was our job to look after the lads, to make sure they were safe to go home to their families. That's what unions do. Work, study, bollocks.
Turned towards the town. I could see the sun was going down. Feel the madness all around. Liars, streets and thieves. Where's the new idea? I don't know where we can go from here. Drowning in another beer. I promised I didn't see. We used to build things, we used to sell the things we made around the world, but the world has turned away. Now we don't make things, there are people making money, moving money around, and the world don't want to pay. Gone are the iron, stone and coal. We're haunted by the ghosts of the things we used to make. Gone is the freight that filled the boats. We're running from the ghosts of the things we used to make. Where did we go wrong? We have lost the skills that made us strong. Know somehow that we were wrong. We face another day. In our souls and hearts, we can see it's time to stand apart. Time to make another start and find another way. We used to build things, we used to sell the things we made around the world, but the world has turned away. Now we don't make things, there are people making money, moving money around, and the world don't want to pay. Gone are the iron, stone and coal. We're haunted by the ghosts of the things we used to make. Gone is the freight that filled the boats. We're running from the ghosts of the things we used to make. Gone is the freight that filled the boats. We're running from the ghosts of the things we used to make.
There's a green field not far away, just outside of our town walls. Some say it will give us 10,000 jobs, we say it's a load of balls. For countless years it's been a field, and as you see, nothing has changed. If you can see a theme park there, then God, you must be deranged. So, welcome to Wonderworld, welcome to Wonderworld. Welcome to Wonderworld, welcome to Wonderworld.
This is Wonderworld, a £367 million leisure project which its backers say will provide 3,000 jobs. It's received the personal support of Mrs. Thatcher. Group 5, the developers, promise a unique family day out, an all-the-year-round combination of Disney-style theme park and nursery rhyme fantasy. But Wonderworld has seen deadlines come and go, and it remains a plastic model. With the depression still biting deep, more women are looking for work. Many of Corby's new jobs have gone to them and not to the ex-deal.
It's women's work and we come real cheap. Part-time, part-paid, bottom of the heap. Pin money? Well, that's a joke. Slogging your guts out for one more blow. Working all day for the capitalists and then back home to do another shift. No one noticed the work we did. Packing and cleaning and raising the kids. The last to be hired and the first to be sacked. Disposable workers off the rack. And men kept the men's job just for the men, while we get the scrag ends all over again.
Every day is depressing, and you see job losses every day on the television. We've been wiped out.
We worked on your looms and your rolling mills, toiled in your shipyards to pay our bills. In your deep-sea mines we sweated blood. Night shift, day shift, it's good. Picked your fruit and ploughed your land, built power stations and hydro dams. Schools, hospitals, motorways, we sold our lifeblood to earn our pay. Now you pull it out, the future's gone. The Seoul, Jakarta, Beijing, Taiwan. God save the Queen and the Union Jack. Like the factory gates, we're up for scrap.
I've been up and down here for years now, trying to look for a job, and I haven't found one yet.
Is it difficult for someone like you to get a job?
Well, I don't think I'll ever work again, to tell you the truth.
We laboured with craft.
We laboured with skill.
Now we queued the job club with time to kill.
Jobs on security now and again.
Chicken pluckers
and lollipop men.
You can train to wash dishes.
You can train to clean.
Or be a brain surgeon on some
bloody
scheme.
When the training's done it.
Sorry, Chuck.
No jobs here.
Shove off.
Tough luck. 10 quid a day.
No holiday pay. No cars. No union. No bloody way. We sold our lives to the big machine.
And we're left with nothing but
broken dreams. Broken dreams. Broken dreams.
£3.60 an hour. Paid buttons for money. £2.75 per hour. Buttons for money.
£2.5. £2.5. That is disgusting. £1.74 an hour.
Below union rates.
40p a skirt.
Union rates.
10 pence for putting a zip on.
Disgusting.
2,600 rupees a day. Treat it like dirt. $1.25. Treat it like dirt.
6p an hour.
Minimum wages.
0.3 pence per solder joint.
That is disgusting. Disgusting.
I think you'll find that a lot of people in the town, especially unemployed people, are looking for not cheap jobs, not jobs with low pay. They're looking for a future.
It's the kids I worry for. By the time they leave school, any idea of a proper job, a job for life, comrades, workmates, common skills and crafts that join us together have gone. Call that progress. It's backwards this goal, not forwards. Back to the days when the docker stood in pens on the docks, hoping to be offered a day's labour. These new agencies, they're a rip-off. They make a huge profit out of every worker they send on 13-week trial. No ties for the employer, no sick pay, holiday pay, maternity pay, no security. My panel went for an interview at one place. They had 3,000 applicants for 70 jobs, and they expect you to be available for work at the drop of a hat. And these new twilight shifts, at least if the kids are home and not at school, your man can look after them while you go out to work. I miss it though, that used to be family time. But it's better than latchkey kids. Very often the 2 were out at work, and the kids were left to their own devices. Left to bring themselves up, they were. No wonder there's so much drugs and teenage mums.
My man went for retraining.
He's nearly done as an accountant. I have to pinch myself sometimes. What a journey. From blast furnaceman, using his body, brawn and bulk. He's a big man, is my Ernie. To an accountant. I'm surprised he still has the brain to do it with, after the amount of drinking he did with all that redundancy pay. Really split us up, it did. Well, I'd just finished a degree myself. I was sick of being thought of as thick, so I went back to school. I graduated the day closure was announced. Brought up my 3 children and then decided it was my turn. Thought I'd find a decent job, one that paid more than the pin money that we get here. We don't even get equal pay, and you can forget graduate employment, unlike Leicester. They think of Corby folk as factory fodder. So much for getting an education to better yourself. I'm afraid that he won't get a job at the end of his course either. I mean, accounting. That's a middle-class profession. Where the hell's he going to find the experience? The contacts? I hoped to give him a better hold on the family purse. But no. It still falls to me to balance it up.
Working in a sweatshop, bottom line wages, down on the factory floor. Working in a sweatshop, non-stop rip-off, ain't gonna take no more. Acid and grind, double overtime, stinking fumes all the day. Hands in a rush, trying to earn my cash, burning my life away. Just do the job, don't open your gob, plenty more where you came from. The more you sweat, the less you get. Smethwick, Dundee, Taiwan. Working in a sweatshop, bottom line wages, down on the factory floor. Working in a sweatshop, non-stop rip-off, ain't gonna take no more. £2 an hour, working for the shower, stuck like a dog in a ditch. Non-stop grind, killing my mind to keep this boss man rich. Don't want a union, says it's gonna ruin him, he ain't gonna pay a penny more. He's in clover, in his big rover, that's how the poor stay poor. Working in a sweatshop, bottom line wages, down on the factory floor. Working in a sweatshop, non-stop rip-off, ain't gonna take no more. Man, what you gonna give me, man? You ain't gonna get your way. No more enslavement, we're out on the pavement, and we are here to stay. Aggravation, intimidation.
This is impossible. I gave up being a Sparky because the pressure was too much. With no backup, you're subcontracting, self-employed, and everyone's trying to cut corners, which it puts lives at risk. When I got the job at Bradley's, I leapt at it. It was sure, boring, repetitive work, in the freezing cold and a drop in earnings, but security, at last. holiday pay, benefits, the promise of overtime at time and a half.
My lad?
My lad had got sucked into the drug scene. County lines. They're flourishing in this area. Anyway, they let me go because I kept having to get hauled out to deal with him. What a euphemism that is, let me go. Anyway, now I'm loading timber all day for next to nothing. The overtime never materialized, and I'm more likely to get killed here than I ever was before. The fork truck, it broke the other day, and I got hauled up for it. The management are useless. They say it was my fault, when actually they're not maintaining the equipment properly. It's lonely as well. I thought there might be a bit of a crack, you know, with the lads. But this place is toxic. Everyone here's on drugs. And I risk being fired every day because I won't go into the smoking shelter because, to be honest, I'm trying to avoid a real bully.
Shocking.
It's shocking. It's vicious. It's dog eats dog. It's just me now. My wife left me. My son, he's in care for his own safety. Hobbies, what's that? I'm too knackered at the end of the day. I put on a blanket, I sit down, I watch the box. I can't afford the heating. It's ridiculous. I sometimes play pool, once or twice a week. It's not much of a life. My mental health is really bad. Sorry. And sometimes I just think, what's the point of life, of me? You know, would anyone really miss me? Why don't I join a union? You know, I've done all kinds of jobs in my past. I've been a fencer, a butcher, a fishmonger, a picker-packer, a warehouse operative. I've done everything, and only once has anyone asked me to join a union. One time, and that was for Safeways, which no longer exists. None of my mates are in unions. They're for middle-class people, not us. At the bottom of the heap. Down here, it's every man for himself.
I know loads of people like that. It's a real struggle trying to get a union started nowadays, ever since Maggie did her worst. Mind you, it's still the largest voluntary organisation in the world, so someone's doing something right, and people are joining. It's a no-brainer for me. I'm Labour through and through. Always been. Goes back generations. None of this MPs can't go on the picket line nonsense. But I left my job at school. Things were going to rack and ruin around me. These trusts and academies, they just want to make money. They're cutting corners. Teachers were really stressed out. They're expected to be counsellors as well as form tutors, and they have to do it in their own time. They're marking and box ticking and filling in endless forms. They're having to cover when you're meant to be on your PPA time. I tell you, I did the jobs evaluations, so I knew exactly what everybody did. And that's what management called their efficiency drive. So what do? They cut people's wages, they reclassified jobs, they did whatever they could to make sure that no one had any time to even think, let alone breathe. Dividing up the work differently. And once your job has been downgraded, it was a real struggle to go to the appeals process because it would take forever. I remember one guy, it took 2 years for him, and I was on the panel that was deciding. I felt pretty outnumbered though. I did what I could to try and help. I say I left my school job, but actually I was more like bullied out of it. I was a school receptionist. I used to have panic attacks before going into school. See, the office manager, she would make a big show of sanitising the hands when she was around me. Made me feel dirty and contagious. She would email me instead of coming 20 paces across and talking to me. She used to humiliate me all the time. And given how much of your time you spend at work, it affected my whole life. But I then decided enough was enough, so I got out of there. I work in the hospital now. I'm in admin, and I love it. Mind you, I can see our beloved NHS crumbling around me. Everyone's so overworked and stressed. Morale is at an all-time low. One of the paramedics was telling me the other day, he's wanting to drop off his patients to safety and get back out on the road. But there's just queues and queues and queues, and there's not enough beds. Too many patients, not enough beds. You can see the stress and the drawn looks on the faces of all the doctors, support workers, nurses. And after all that clapping during COVID, appalling wages. No wonder they've all been driven to striking. My man, he's a postie, their lot are out on strike too. They've been trying to cut back paying conditions for a long time. Petty things, demeaning things, demoralising things. He's been given one of these PDA devices now. The personal digital assistant, you know, the things you've got to sign when they bring you parcels. So it's a way of management keeping track of you. And they'll haul you into the office and say, why were you stood still for 15 minutes? Well, I can tell you, this country is going to the dogs. This is becoming more and more normal, I tell you.
Normal? You call that normal? Well, it's not my normal. And we need to do something to stop it becoming the new normal. How can it be right that a junior doctor gets so desperate that the only way out he can see is to take his own life? And in the same week, there were 2 other attempted suicides, all workplace related, bullying, appalling conditions, and overworked. These are the people whose jobs are about saving lives. We need to save them. Here I am at the hospital. Yesterday was Amazon. This morning, the supermarket. A young man killed by a collapsing stack of pallets and a dodgy machine. Trolleys loaded so high you can't see over the top. Prolapsed wounds, miscarriages, back and shoulder injuries. RSI, all in a day's work. So is supporting the strikers. The Amazon workers in Coventry have had enough. They were out on strike the other week, and there is more planned at other depots. It's going to cripple Amazon.
Ridiculous stress levels, 12-hour shifts, 4 in a row. People do it because they can't make ends meet on their pay. Doesn't seem to matter where I go, it's the same principle. Employers trying to squeeze as much as they can out of the workers for the minimum pay and maximum profit. Overworked and underpaid. And we know this causes injuries and fatalities. Health and safety? Oh yes, take supermarkets. They pay my reps to do health and safety walk rounds. They always find regulations being flouted. They point this out to the manager, and as soon as they leave, they carry on regardless. You might think the threat of costly court action would pull them up short, but it's water off a duck's back to companies like these. They say they can't afford to pay any more than they do, but they are so rich that they are self-insuring. None of this is about lack of money. It's about pure greed. Profit before people. Cutting corners kills, and it has to stop. And we're all going to stop it. All the unions are pulling together now to expose the employers. Watch this space. There'll be no more suicides on our watch.
Men were 10 a penny.
One of the fatherless families.
I was going to do everything I could to stop it.
Enough is enough.
More widgets for less money.
Every man for himself.
Cutting corners kills.
We deserve to have a pay rise. We've had almost 2 decades of real terms pay cuts. Open your eyes, listen to the healthcare professionals. We're professionals for a reason. We are more than qualified to assess the situation. We do it every single day, every single shift. And we deserve to have a significant pay rise. And we are fighting for 15%.
Stand together, stand and fight. Enough is enough. Time for us to go on strike. Enough is enough. Stand together, stand and fight. Enough is enough. Time for us to go on strike. Enough is enough.
With the tech box for us, and I just want to say that the play is based on real life experience. It's all true stories. There wasn't one fact in there that wasn't true. Sometimes the names were changed, but that's the style of theatre. It's documentary, political theatre, and the situations we talked about. Obviously, you know, the research was done with some of the members of the cast, one of whom was Rochelle, who came to have an interview with me and then ended up being in the play. But her life is very dynamic, and one of the situations we talked about has moved since. So I thought it'd be really fitting just to hear from Rochelle.
Thank you. Thanks, Paula. In my speech, I mentioned about Amazon, and I'm probably sure a lot of you have seen that Amazon Coventry have been out on strike quite a lot of late in the last couple of months. So during that time, the trade union has been signing new members up when they've been on strike. And last week, we managed to get to the place whereby we'd got 500 plus new members at Amazon Coventry. It's an absolutely amazing feat because it's taken them less than 2 months to do that. But what that actually means is that this week, we were in a position to put in a letter of recognition to the company for a full bargaining rights, pay, recognition agreement with Amazon Coventry. Wow. And they won't be the last. We are now doing another 5 warehouses on top of that, so watch this space.
Martin's going to be saying a few words that just to try and wind it up now, and I mean, it's taken us quite a while to put together. I'd just like to say again thank you to Corby Town Council for this fantastic venue, to the theatre staff and everything that they've had to do to put this on this morning. Paula, of course, who wrote and directed the play, fantastic work. Finest, please read all our other material, it's absolutely fantastic. To my grandchildren for that impromptu heckling, I'll talk to you later about you, and especially to all of you for coming along on this extremely special occasion for us. Good luck, God bless, and go safe.
It's left with me to close the event today. One of the things that I don't know whether it's come across, it's 25 years since the Northants community branch has actually been doing this. Ray Beebe told me this last night. It's a fact that I didn't know. I knew that we did it on a regular basis and we've had different speakers, but that's quite an achievement, 25 years. There's a few thanks I'd like to say. I mean, Alan's covered it, quite a lot of it, and Paula's covered it. Corby Town Council is very proud to support events like this because they're very, very important. As you well know, as a town council, we support anything that's community-based within Corby. I can't talk about anything political because we are community-based council, but you can work out by what we do and where we go, what we support. It's very, very touching for me because of Councillor Diel's personal account. I'd like to say a big thanks to Mark, Councillor Pengelly, because he has led the fellow councillors that are actually here today and has always encouraged us and has always been saying that, yeah, we need to build these links with everybody. Paula, what can I say? Absolutely fantastic, very thought-provoking. I come here in '89 in the enterprise years. Hence, I haven't got a Corby accent, but as you can well tell, I'm picking little bits up of it, but I come in '89 when the enterprise zone come, and I come with the biggest printers that come here. And what was most paramount for us, with 1,000 union members, was health and safety within that organisation. And the big thing that needs to be, Alan has touched upon it, is health and safety is paramount because the bosses at the end of the day, they put profit before people. They always will do. And when you get told about regulations, that we're trying to unravel every regulation, as Alan touched upon it, and as Mark has touched upon it as well, what they're trying to do is create more profit. They're getting rid of the red tape to you know, to make more profit out of people's lives. So go safely, go back to work safely. Big thanks to everybody.
Sorry, I just realised, because I just looked at the audience, there were a few people I forgot to mention, and it was when you said the enterprise zone. In the middle, when we weren't acting and you were watching a film, those that don't know, that was a film of Women of Steel, which was a play we did in 2006. And there were some very special people in there. Some of them are actually in the audience. So some of the Women of Steel are here today. Irene Hamilton, I've just spotted you.
Could you stand up? Could you stand up, please? Stand up. There's a call to you.
Okay, there she is. They were the women in red doing all of that. And there were two stories that we kept in purposefully. One of them was the Irish woman who was speaking about it's the kids I feel sorry for. And that was Bridie Norton, who sadly is no longer with us. So also the story that Joy Elizabeth, who also is no longer with us, was reading and talking about was actually George Hamilton, who also recently left us. So I'd like to thank George for this. And it was Irene who graduated the day closures were announced. She's here today.
So it leaves me to say, go safely back to work and work safely at work. Thank you.
Right, don't go anywhere until they get the cast at the front and everybody a picture of the cast. Yeah.
You want a picture?
So we'll get a picture, everybody stand up and get a picture of the cast. Right, hands up in the air. Good picture of some of yous. Well done, everybody.
We've had almost 2 decades of real terms pay cuts. Open your eyes, listen to the healthcare professionals. We're professionals for a reason. We are more than qualified to assess the situation. We do it every single day, every single shift, and we deserve to have a significant pay rise, and we are fighting for 15%.
Stand together, stand and fight enough. Is enough. Time for us to go on strike enough.